All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody. I am John Lanier. I'm the executive director of the Ray C. Anderson Foundation, and our foundation is one of the founding members of Drawdown Georgia, and we've been pleased to host a number of webinars over the last few years exploring all of the different topics that fit within this Drawdown Georgia ecosystem. And I'm thrilled that this webinar, titled Climate Solutions That Go Beyond Carbon, Growing a Just Green Economy. I'm thrilled to be having this conversation and to have the panelists that we do. One note, unfortunately, we are not able to have Michael Channon from Cherry Street join us for this. He had a late cancellation, but we're still going to have an excellent panel, an excellent conversation on this topic. It's an important one for Drawdown Georgia. As I think everyone knows, Drawdown Georgia has identified the most substantive and important climate solutions for the state of Georgia. But it's not just about the climate solutions and what they can do for greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. From the very beginning, Drawdown Georgia has understood the importance of the many co-benefits, and there are no two ones that stand out more than the opportunity for climate solutions to advance economic opportunity in our state and to advance equity within our state. And there's so much overlap and connection between the two of those. I'm going to borrow to give you one sense of the scale of opportunity within our state from the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy. And an article that I found, I'm quoting them, says the Southeast region has captured 40% of the nation's electric vehicle assembly, EV parts, EV charging infrastructure, battery manufacturing, and battery recycling investments, and 35% of anticipated manufacturing jobs, totaling over 65,000. That's just one climate solution. Electric vehicles. There really is so much more, but that's one that you'll be hearing a good bit about this morning in particular. Moderating our panel, and it is my immense honor to introduce our moderator, is Makara Rumley. Makara is a friend, but she's also the founder and CEO of the Hummingbird Firm, a culturally competent consulting firm specializing in community engagement, strategy and data analytics, and systems change training. Makara is a graduate of Spelman College and the George Washington University School of Law. She is a woman of many superpowers, but the one that I want to lift up for our purposes today is her ability to see the big picture and understand each side of really any issue. And that includes the issue of the opportunity for equitable jobs within the state of Georgia that comes along with this unique moment within our state. So I'll hand the reins off to you, Makara. Thank you.
Thank you, John, very much. And, when John reached out to me about doing this webinar, I usually just say yes, even if I don't even know what he's talking about. And I make it happen because John is just so enjoyable and such a strong thought leader in what we will be talking about today. Just all the solutions that exist and opportunities that we have for success and achieve our goals, some of which we will witness and see in our lifetime, and others that we are investing what's necessary for the benefit of generations to come. And that's what fills me up. So one of the things that I just wanted to do before we dive into the trees of this discussion is to take a moment to talk about the forest. A lot of you have joined us today, some very well versed in what we're talking about, and some folks who are already on the ground contributing to these solutions. But there may be a few of you that just want to know, what is this green economy thing, green jobs? What exactly are they even talking about? And so I just wanted to touch, briefly about just the green economy, and that we're referring to an ecosystem that prioritizes sustainability, environmental protection, and just being responsible for the natural resources that we're using so that we can reduce the negative impact and promote clean energy and promote social equity and economic development. So what we're discussing today is a very holistic and all-encompassing. So I just want your minds to be open to think about all the respective inputs that exist that will help us arrive at the solution, which is creating a regenerative economy. And so let me just touch on some of those things to make sure that our minds are open, because Leticia's gonna talk about them, and so is Gary. And so we'll all be listening for them. So when folks are talking about the green energy economy, they could be talking about environmental sustainability, renewable energy, resource efficiency. That's a fancy term for recycling. Conservation and biodiversity, green jobs. We will that is, if you had a highlighter in the air, that's, where the focus of our conversation is going to be today. The circular economy, how are we reusing? Transportation, Leticia's probably very much going to talk about that in her role. Social equity, how does everybody benefit from these solutions that we're creating? And Gary very much is going to give us his thoughts and lots of examples of what is occurring right now and what those opportunities are. Government policies, a lot of times we need policy to make some of these solutions go. What role does the private sector have? It's got to be all sectors that are part of the pollution. No one carries this welcome burden alone, right? We have to be collaborative. What impact does international inputs have? We're talking about Georgia today because it's dry down Georgia, but that plays a component as well. Green building, planning, education. That's a little bit about what I'm doing right now. Just educating you before we get into this conversation so you can get as much out of it as possible. Parks and green space, local food production, and then just developing the partnerships from an interdisciplinary angle. Both Leticia and Gary come from different disciplines. I'm a different discipline, but we all work together and like a think tank, bring our various experiences to really make change happen, to create things that we can all see, touch, and feel. And so with that, I'm going to pass it over to Leticia Bailey, who's the Senior Manager and Head of Human Resources Department at Kia. And then also, after she talks to us, Gary Harris, who is the Managing Director of the Center for Sustainable Communities, will be sharing with us today and will be part of this discussion. And then lastly, please send any questions that you have because I will be monitoring them so that we can make sure that we have the dialogue and the engagement that we all want here today. Don't just want to be talking at you. We'd like to be talking with you. So with that, Leticia, I'm handing the mic over to you. You're on my right on the screen, but I handed it over to you.
Thank you, Makara. Well, good morning. It is so wonderful being with everyone today. I have to tell you, this is a very exciting time for the Kia Georgia team as we prepare to launch our plant's first electric vehicle in the months ahead. But I want to go over just a few highlights and background about Kia Georgia. On April 6th of this year, the 4 millionth vehicle built at Kia Georgia rolled off our assembly line. And we started production in November 16th, 2009 with the Kia Sorento. Wow. So this was a great milestone in a relatively short amount of time. But since that time, we have created almost about 17,000 jobs, including with our supplier base down here at West Point, Georgia. Currently, there are approximately about 3,000 Kia Georgia team members, and we produce upwards of about 350,000 vehicles annually. So our current product lineup includes the Telluride, the Sorento, the Sportage, and K5, and they continue to perform exceptionally well. So as I mentioned earlier, we announced this year that we will be producing the EV9. This will be Kia's first U.S. assembled EV, joining the Telluride, Sorento, Sportage, and the K5 here at the plant. And the EV9 will be the most sophisticated vehicle that we have ever built, and will be a standout in the ultra competitive EV market with nothing else like it currently on the road. So it will, from what I understand, combine all the best elements of the Telluride, which was the 2020 World Car of the Year, with all of the best EV elements of the EV6. And as the first 3-row 7-seat EV for Kia, the EV9 will mix capability with technology and refined elegance. But I do want to talk about really kind of like our job creation and workforce development, because there's so much more to talk about this product. But we know that the labor market in our great state and across the nation presents a lot of challenges attracting and retaining talent. And the mobility industry has an additional challenge as we convert and diversify kind of the skill sets of the existing workforce to meet the needs of this EV production. So I want to kind of go over the partnerships that we have built in order to develop this workforce pipeline. So we have partnered with the high schools, especially here in Troup County. Think College Career Academy down here in Troup County, also Harris and Hurd in Coweta County. And we've created work-based learning opportunities for students to expose them to manufacturing. And we've created internships where they can actually come in, they can work in different areas of the plant, production, engineering, administrative, and actually see what it's like working in a manufacturing environment, which is very different than the perception. The perception is that it's very dirty and dull and just kind of a dead-end job. But to the contrary, it's a very, very clean environment. I welcome you and anyone in the audience to come and tour the facility, as we would love to host you. But in order to bring in our workforce, we've had to partner with the high schools, the Technical College System of Georgia, also with the colleges and universities here in Georgia. And right now, what we're doing, and we're on different committees, is that we are really partnering with the education system in order to develop a curriculum and help them develop a curriculum for EV space. Because there is so much and so many different components and safety issues, battery, that we're all of us are learning about together. And so that's really important, that the partnerships that we have built from the beginning, in order to have a pipeline, that we are continuing those partnerships. And it's critical that we continue those partnerships in order to sustain our workforce and even to upskill our existing workforce when it comes to the EV space. So some of the other things, and now we can take questions at the end, but some of the other things that we have partnered with is in Troup County is this program called SLAM. It's students learning about manufacturing. It's an interactive summer camp where students can build robots. They can come in and they tour local industries, manufacturers or suppliers in the area. And there's also team robotic competitions. Another program that we have partnered with in order to expose even the teachers and guidance counselors in the schools so they can educate their students and talk about the different careers in manufacturing is called LIFT. And that's the LaGrange Industrial Fellowship for Teachers. And that's where they can come in. They tour different manufacturing facilities, and they're here. They interview different leadership and team members to find out what it is to have a career in manufacturing on all the different opportunities. So those are just a couple of examples of opportunities that we've been able to partner with, and something that we are expanding and want to be able to expand in the EV space. And the same with the technical college and the college system. We bring in students for internships while they're attending college, so they can understand manufacturing and all the different career pathways that we have here. So that's just kind of an overview of just kind of the jobs that we've created, and also the partnerships that are critical for us to continue and expand when we're talking about this EV space.
Thank you, Leticia. And thank you for just sharing information about some of the strategies that Kia has started implementing to really encourage the new generation, the next generation, and educate them about the manufacturing industry as a whole. And then the opportunities that exist with electric vehicles. Can you share anything that Kia is doing for, let's say, somebody like me who said, you know what, forget this running a business thing. I'm going into manufacturing. And I just want to, I was an engineering major first in school. People don't know that. So just, having that technical mind and working with your friends, working with your hands, and just the pride of like creating something. What does that training look like if you're mid-career or you want to switch your career?
Yeah, sure. So, I'll use myself as an example. I'm an employment law attorney, and I started with Kia in April 2012 in the legal department over employment law. And so then an opportunity came open, and I was kind of voluntold to go over to the HR side and lead the HR area and work with the training department, our workforce development, total rewards and compensation, in order to kind of like help build and take care of the team members. So there's a lot of different opportunities coming in as far as in manufacturing, and even as an engineer or someone that doesn't understand or not aware of all the different opportunities, we offer even job shadowing, if job shadowing or internships, something that we've partnered with Fort Moore with the military, is trying to have an internship for the military and their spouses to come in and actually do kind of a rotation. And you can work in our production control, you can work in engineering. We also have on the administrative side, we have legal, finance, sales. We also have a wellness facility, and you can work in medical. So you actually come in and you can do a different rotation, 3 weeks, or even just depending. We're very, very flexible, just to kind of rotate in the different areas so you can actually get an understanding of all the different things in manufacturing. Because there are other areas on the admin side that people don't really think about, that, right, hey, there's a lot of right, jobs and departments that support manufacturing, that people may want to be exposed of. And so some of our engineers even come in and they've gone into the procurement or the general purchasing side of things. And so we'll take them through those different jobs so they can actually be exposed to that. And then we have a training center that's located in the area that you can go over there and even get hands-on experience on even the production floor, and being able to touch things and feel things and see, hey, do I want to continue doing repetitive motions and assembling the vehicles and see what it feels like to really work on a moving assembly line. So there's different opportunities, and we definitely want to expose people that have no background in manufacturing or any experience to come in, and we'll help them get exposed and training in those areas. It's a good question.
Appreciate that. And now Gary, again, a reminder, Gary Harris is the managing director for the Center for Sustainable Communities. We are very interested to hear about your expertise and your thoughts.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much for having me. I am so excited to be here. And Leticia, I've been to that plant. Matter of fact, we're one of your partners with the 100 Black Men of Atlanta.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. We put down our product success program students and such, and toured the plant. And you know what? You said that plant was clean. That plant is spotless. I was afraid to bring a crumb in there. It was so clean, and I was awe-inspired by the automation and robotics and the precision and such. Just a work of art in the entire place, and now exciting retrofits coming to transform the plant, to produce EVs and such. So exciting times, So I'm going to go back to the schools and crank up the students some more and get them down for round 2. Yay! There you go. There you go. Because we've got to excite these folks, and that's where it started at for me. Back in the day, and I still do. I did a lot in STEM education, and we decided to start a energy curriculum at a school in Atlanta called DM Thorough High School and such. So we went in there and said, okay, principal, we want to do this. We want to do the NEAT program, and we want to teach this and this and this and this and all the stuff about renewables. Except this was back in the mid 2000s. We said this, and we said, okay, we want to partner DM Thorough up with this school over here called Atlanta Technical College, and we want to have a dual degree program, that would take students in this low income area and such, and talk to them on a daily basis in high school about energy, and then have them take college courses as well. So we had that vision way back in the day of ensuring equitable workforce development by partnering and such, and that's one of the keys that we're going to talk about today is partnerships and how to partner and such. But but beyond that, I love the crash parties. So I was at Southface back in the day, shortly after we had this vision about creating this dual degree program and such, and I crashed a party there, and lo and behold, so folks were sitting around the table, and they were creating a collaborative around workforce. So I just sat there, and I sat there the next year, and I sat there the next year, and I sat there the next year and such. And we formed something called the Emerald Cities Collaborative and such. And that was all about high road workforce development, good quality jobs, good quality access, good union jobs into renewable energy. But this wasn't now. This was way back in the late 2000s and such. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about equitable workforce development, and that's all about eliminating racial barriers and such, ensuring that we fill the gaps to ensure access to employment and also wages as well. And we want to ensure that populations are racially represented in these fields. And again, we're looking at emerging technologies. We're looking at solar, wind, but we're also looking at small modular nuclear. We're looking at, as Makara pointed out, building technologies. And the list goes on and on. And all of these opportunities offer great employment opportunities, both on the trade side and such, being an electrician, mechanical, electrician, mechanical technician, or plumbing, etc., controls, and then on the professional side, again, everything from an administrative assistant through a scientist and engineer. The world's it's a gambit of opportunity. And there's been significant federal action to help advance these workforce jobs as well in clean energy, which includes the bipartisan infrastructure law, which funneled some $800 million into skill and workforce development and such. And then there's also the American Rescue Plan, which again created something called the Good Jobs Challenge, which again funneled some $500 million, not only into the training programs, but also workforce support. Sometimes we need childcare. Sometimes we need some extra assistance to ensure our folks, get to work on time. So, we've had significant federal action. But let's talk about where we are right now in Georgia in terms of clean energy jobs. Well, right now, Georgia ranks 14th, y'all, in the country for solar jobs, and that's a 10.6% increase over years past. And jobs in the U.S. grew by 3.8% in 2022, led by clean energy. Okay, and in 2022, there were 80,710 jobs that can be aligned with clean energy opportunities in the state of Georgia and such. Again, more increases there as well, and even beyond the federal action that we talked about. Again, some $800 million devoted directly towards workforce development and such. Even beyond that, there's been private spending, which is boasted the federal investment. And then this combination of federal and private spending has added nearly 300,000 jobs since the introduction of the Inflation Reduction Act. And that's 8.1 million total jobs total. And that spans the gambit from wind to solar, again, to building technologies. Now, Georgia's not exactly the leader in job creation. Again, California's out there, and so is Virginia at number 11. But Georgia's certainly catching up. Again, laying out some facts here to provide a basis for further discussion. Again, talking about EVs, in the past 2 years, makers of electric vehicles and suppliers have put into place more than 40 projects in Georgia, again with some 28,400 jobs announced, amounting to $22.7 billion in investment. Okay, again we're looking at Kia and Hyundai, and now also Ravinia. Hyundai Motors Group is going to invest some $5.8 billion for supply chain and for power chain down in Savannah. Ravinia, close to Atlanta, is going to invest 5.8. Tremendous investments, which turn into job opportunities. There's also supply chain opportunities there as well, in terms of batteries and other support as well. Georgia, believe it or not, is the second highest state in the U.S. with new private sector clean energy project investments announced, which were in part funded by IRA. Some 22 projects, okay, that amounted to 16,900 jobs. Okay, and this includes the new facilities for solar, such as the Q-Cell facility in Bartow. And believe it or not, since some of our out of Atlanta districts are prospering as well. The 11th district in Georgia, for instance, the Northwest, has got 7.8 billion. And that's that's the 5th largest congressional district in the country to receive that sort of investment and such. And lastly here, Georgia, the EVs industry is just explosive growth, as Keisha has pointed out. Some 30 EV-related projects, some 18,000 jobs in 2020 in Barron County and such, $962 million in powertrain facilities, battery technology, etc. In 1 year since this IRA has been in place, again, some 700, which funnels some $730 billion into the economy. There's been 270, nearly 300 new clean energy projects, and with an additional $1.32 billion from private sector, resulting in 86,000 new jobs. And guess what, Leticia? 50,000 of those jobs are dedicated towards EVs. Y'all, Georgia and the rest of the country is on fire. Significant investments from the federal government, significant investments from private industry as well, and such, lifting up, retrofitting plants, creating jobs. It's a good time to be in Georgia. It's a good time to be in the South. It's a good time to be part of this renewable energy movement.
Gary, thank you. Thank you for just the stats, right? The stats and the facts, and how all of those numbers and percentages and investments create stories, right? Create stories of people being able to support their family,
Right.
create stories of people living in healthier environments, create stories of just the energy and the pride that comes from building out the quality of life of your overall community. And that's happening in Georgia. That's
Right.
very much happening based
Absolutely.
off of all that you have shared. So if anyone was doubting that we were on the map, that we're on the list, we are. There's intentionality around the solutions, and they are not aspirational. They are happening right now.
Right.
So thank you for sharing that, Gary. Gary, can you share, anything that you may be working on in your organization that's really, helping to infuse some of those benefits and strides that Georgia has been making?
Well, yeah, absolutely. We look at everything through the environmental justice lens, but overarching that, because of my background in science and engineering and such, we make sure that we also apply those principles and those applications and those tools as well. So one of the things we thought was, we said, well, hey, we got all these jobs being created, but how do we connect the folks together? How do we make sure that Ante, over on the west side knows about the Kia plant? How do we make that connection? And one of the things we thought, well, yeah, more high school tours, but then we said, how can we get on the ground in these communities, and have these conversations? Well, again, applying science and technology and something we call Just Science, we have developed an app. Okay, and this app will allow what we call ambassador.
What's the name of the
I
app,
got
Gary?
music. Street teams.
Street teams.
Street
Okay.
teams. Okay. Street teams. Street teams for energy efficiency, renewable energy, and it grew out of something that we used to do a long time ago, Makara.
Yes.
We would go around the neighborhoods and pass out light bulbs, and pass out brochures, and talk to folks, long time ago and such, about clean energy and saving our planet, etc. Well, we've taken that walk around concept, if you would, and put it to work and hyped it up a bit, using science and technology and such. And we've actually created an app. And one of our first applications for that was, believe it or not, was outside the state of Georgia in something called offshore wind. Offshore wind, it's clean energy technology, and it's great jobs for not only for folks along the Atlantic coast there, but also for Georgians as well. And such. We're building some 172 wind turbines, some 2.6 gigawatts of clean energy off the coast of Virginia and such. That's enough power for 600,000 people. But again, how do we make the connections between the folks in the community? Well, we're having ambassadors and champions, and we have our app here in which folks can go around and they can educate. This is all about education. This is about awareness building, but at the same time, we can evaluate and say, well, hey, hey, Miss Johnson, you want to work inside or outside? Check. You want to work with your hands? Check. Do you want to go back to school? Check. Blah, 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 blah. And it goes in evaluation, and then it spits out recommendations for folks, for folks to go into the clean energy sector. It tells you what training you need to take. It tells you where to take the training, what credentials you need, et cetera, et cetera. So we're excited about the app. Again, we were fortunate enough to be part of the Energy Equity Project. and we kind of handed it over to them, and they are using DOE and in-rail resources to put this thing on steroids. But that's one way, just thinking out of the box a bit. How do we make that connection? And using science technology, we're able to do that.
That's fantastic, Gary. I did not know that existed, and that's a game changer, really, because people are educated and they hear about these opportunities, but it's, well, how does that relate to me? It doesn't feel attainable, and it sounds like the capabilities there really makes these opportunities attainable and helps people to see themselves there. So, I mean, we've already had a robust conversation, as all of you who have joined us can hear. We've talked about green jobs, what role transportation plays, social equity, government policies, the private sector's role, collaboration, environmental education. And I'm sure that folks have a lot of other questions. Some have been shared already. And so I'm going to get started and posing some questions to our panelists. So I'm going to read the first one. And it says, in my experience, we also need to educate the parents that manufacturing and trade jobs are great careers and incredible options for a large percentage of our youth. Are you doing anything along that line, or do you have advice on how to push that message out to Georgia as we grow the EV ecosystem? Mm-hmm. And I think that's for you, Leticia, but Gary, you may have some thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that we've in our partnerships have made sure that we've invited the parents of the students to come to the plant. And it's interesting enough that sometimes the parents end up getting a job because they learn themselves about the different careers and just about the benefits and the compensation opportunities that we have here at manufacturing. And so that is extremely important. There's a manufacturing day that we are doing down here that we've partnered with the Economic Development in LaGrange. Is October 7th. And so they've invited all the manufacturers in the areas, the students, and most importantly, the parents, so they can actually see and understand the opportunities in manufacturing. And so anytime that we're pushing or having these partnerships and conversations, that's one of the questions that we're always asking. How do we get to the parents? What can we send to the homes? How do we get the parents involved? Because they influence, and we want to make sure that it's manufacturing is not just an alternative, but it's another option to a 4-year, going to college. So we definitely want to get the parents in that conversation, which is extremely important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if I can piggyback on that, Natasha, whenever we would bring our students down to the plant, we would always bring parents along with us as well. And one of the ways in which we're reaching the adult population with this, besides our app, is that, okay, well, everybody listens to the radio, folks watch TV and such. So we created a series of radio broadcasts called "Why Our Community Must Care About Climate" and such. And that's a radio broadcast on 1380 to WOK, on point with Waterland Stokes. And about every 3 months, we touch a topic related to clean energy, related to climate and such, including workforce development. And why is that important? Because those radio broadcasts free of charge, can reach, but between 100,000 to 500,000 people, per broadcast. So we're able to reach that sort of market, and it's an urban broadcast. broadcast. So not only are we reaching it locally and statewide, but nationally as well and such. So being creative in this space, we've got to develop the apps, but then there's the standbys, that are commonplace, and we fortunately have done 11 radio broadcasts and reached over 1 million folks thus far with these topics around clean energy, including workforce development.
Right. So the next question that we have here, first, it said, great presentation about the opportunities available. Many of these opportunities at Kia and other EV companies are outside of metro areas, and there is no public transit to get people to the jobs. Is this something that is being addressed? Is this something that's being addressed? Great jobs, but people can't get to them due to the lack of available transit.
Yeah, that is definitely a topic that we've had with the county and economic development, and even some of our vendors on site. So what some of the ideas that we've implemented is we've partnered with one of our vendors, and they have a bus, a transportation service out of Columbus. So there was, I believe it was 2 stops in Columbus, and they would, at the time we were rotating shifts, but we work on a 3-shift operation. And so they were providing that transportation service to Kia. And something that we've partnered with Goodwill in the area. And so they also have implemented just recently a transportation service to the area. And so that is definitely has been a challenge that we talk about a lot, but I know that the transportation, just providing transportation service, is something that we've partnered with some of our vendors in the area to provide to our team members.
Yeah, and also keep in mind that some of these federal dollars are designated for wraparound services. And transportation could be a wraparound service, but perhaps we can get a groom van, going from Hartsfield Airport, down to West Point daily, something like that. I think they do that, so maybe there's a special discounted rate. But I think also what's important here is the fact that problems like that, is really solved, and all of this is really push forward in an equity space through partnerships. We got to have partnerships, and we talked about that early on and such. But these partnerships span the gambit, and they include the state and local and tribal governments as well. The employers have to be part of this as well. Unions, are all over this. Workforce development boards, economic development entities, industry associations, institutions of higher education, training providers, community-based organizations like the Center for Sustainable Communities, education and educational providers. We all come together, and such, and we sit around the table and we can solve these problems like transportation, like access, like equity and such. Quickly here, one project that we're associated with, we helped to form a community advisory board and such, and that consists of higher education, workforce institutions, our organization, the Sierra Club, and others, working through these issues, of trying to ensure job access as well.
Thank you, Gary. So this next question could be for either of you, or you can both answer, as you've both been answering the previous questions. The question is, in your view, what are the biggest momentum industries for going green in Georgia besides EVs? Which industries in Georgia are most tied to incentives related to the Inflation Reduction Act? Does Georgia have any of its own incentives for green industries besides EVs?
Mm-hmm. I'll let you answer that one, Gary.
Well, I would say
great
solar.
Question.
Yeah, great question. I would say solar. I mean, look at and if we look at the greenhouse gas reduction fund, that those dollars cover a wide spectrum of solutions and such. But solar ranks at the top, because of the Solar for All Fund, and also that there are some existing incentives to some programs through various utilities to help support solar as well. We for instance won a prize called the Community Power Accelerator, and that's all about community scale solar and such. So looking at Solar for All, and looking at some of the current incentives, I would say that.
Thank you, Gary. And that really connects to the next question, which is, do we have a sense of what kind of solar jobs Georgians have? For example, technical, installing and electrical engineering versus business versus on the utility side.
Where's Mike at? All of these jobs, have the basic same components to them. We need folks in the trades. We need folks with electrical experience, mechanical experience. We need folks who are planners. We need folks who are electrical engineers and such. All of these opportunities, whether it be solar or wind or building technologies, need a wide gambit of folks to do the work and such. And so we need to have pre-apprenticeship programs and also apprenticeship programs. I sit on a committee nationally called the Center for Energy Workforce Development, and we are a group of agencies and utilities and community-based organizations and nonprofits coming together to figure out which one of these technologies, including solar, should be a leading candidate to put emphasis on for pre-apprenticeship programs and such. Also we're working with the DOE for their Clean Energy Accelerator program as well. Again, we're looking at the same crop of folks, folks in the trades and the electrical engineers, et cetera, et cetera. But also that program has an emphasis on, again, high quality jobs and great access and such, and high road approaches, as well as second chance as well. So we can't leave out that crop of folks as well. We also work with agencies such as the Interstate Renewable Energy Council, which has formed the National the National Clean Energy Workforce Council and such, and it too has nearly 500 folks who come together on an annual basis to talk about these issues and such. So we're working through all of these things to ensure access for all and access to all of these jobs as well.
All right, I'm looking to see if we have any additional questions here. While I'm waiting for some more questions to pop up, I wanted to ask you, Gary, and I know you've touched on this in some parts already in terms of how your organization is using science and technology to really connect with and deepen the relationship with underserved communities. And you've given us examples of some of those approaches. What are some just emerging energy technologies that just may not be as we may not be as conversant in outside of EV and solar, and you've already shared wind. Using your engineering mind, what's coming down the pike that we don't really see that's really going to impact our lives?
Well, obviously energy storage. And we need energy storage for a number of things, but whether it be to support solar or for EV charging. That is where there's a lot of emphasis, both from a manufacturing and also an R&D perspective and workforce perspective as well. So I would say energy storage. Next up, we haven't talked about geothermal at all. And that too is a credible source of renewable energy, and through IRA funding, that's being expanded. A controversial one: small modular nuclear reactors and such. And that is emerging technology and such. They're looking at building a couple of those along the Clinch River in Tennessee. That is not Plant Vogtle 3 and 4. That doesn't even come close. Those are small, self-contained, unit size components that can be added on to a build capacity. And then too, there's the building technologies as well. There's energy codes which are being changed to require buildings to be more energy efficient, and then also the technologies associated with controlling buildings, and also the heating and cooling systems themselves. Those are being amplified and modified to be a whole lot more efficient. Also, so there's a wide range of technologies, and we haven't talked about tidal or hydro power at all, and those are emerging. I mean, those although some hydro can be controversial in that obviously we need to dam something, but then and that creates recreation, but at the same time it may harm ecosystems and such. But hydropower has been with us for decades. Those systems are being modified and ramped up to increase capacity as well.
Wow, Gary. So all of those other avenues really have opportunities for building it, maintaining it. There's job opportunities there, and just exploring and building out those options so that we have a buffet of choices in building a regenerative economy.
Absolutely. Quickly here again, off the coast of Virginia, 172 wind turbines, but not only Virginia, but Maryland, not only Maryland, but New York. Not only New York, but Maine as well. Some 30 gigawatts of offshore wind being put in place and such. And that's $190 billion supply chain. And so if we're talking jobs, and that's power generation, that's transmission and distribution, that's environmental studies, that's studies on marine effects as well. That's drilling. These components are huge and such. So we're actually manufacturing vessels to carry them. We're modifying ports, etc. We're modifying hauling vessels and trailers, etc. So there's a whole supply chain, a whole gamut of opportunities associated with these new and emerging technologies.
I have a question for Leticia, which you may not know the answer to, but I'm curious, in the location where the Kia plants exist, are there any incentives for folks to move to the city? And then we talk about transportation. So if you wanted to commute between, let's say, downtown, Atlanta, the Atlanta area, metropolitan area, and LaGrange, but are there any incentives for actually, moving and making your home base in that town where the opportunity is?
Yeah, we actually have a relocation program and package. That's something that, especially last year when we were trying to meet production and having to hire a lot of team members, we had to expand our radius, outside of the 50-mile radius, and look in different areas like Albany, Georgia. And before, we had not had a relocation package for our production team members. But we created a relocation package and assistance, and giving them those benefits to the production team member to actually relocate to the area close by. So we even have a partnership with our vendor, Weichert, where they actually assist those team members and candidates to look at different housing opportunities in the area, and providing assistance there. But yeah, that's a great question and something that we had to do when we're having to think out of the box when we had to hire last year upwards of 500 plus team members, and having even now having to develop and attract team members. We had to look at some of those relocation benefits. And as talking about just the benefits, something else that helped, we also have a tuition assistance. So when our production team members or anyone that's coming to the plant, one of the things that we offered along with the relocation is the opportunities for tuition assistance. So if they wanted to go to technical college or continuing their education, that's another benefit that we offer the team members that we've been able to attract and retain our members.
And do you have career fairs or recruitment activations in different areas surrounding where the manufacturing is occurring?
Yes. So this week we actually have half of our team out at different career fairs. So they're at the colleges, Georgia Tech, they're at the HBCUs, doing career fairs, even down in Tallahassee at FAMU. And we also have, we participate in the career fairs, different, the political congressman career fairs up in Atlanta, and in this area, Columbus, career fairs. So yes, we definitely do that.
Yeah. And I think also maybe our listeners are thinking, well, how do we get plugged into all of this? I want to work on those wind turbines. I want to work on that geothermal stuff or on that hydro or that tidal. How do I get plugged in? Well, there's training out there and such. There's a clean energy professional training offered by the Interstate Renewable Energy Council. They and others have credentials that you can also earn online or in classroom as well. There's online training for folks, if for instance, community-based organizations, if they want to start up a workforce program or maybe some education program around these renewable sources. There's online sources available for those as well. And then also there's a clean energy clearinghouse, which just has all kinds of resources from a workforce perspective, training resource perspective, to get organizations started. And also, I want to mention that there is an apprenticeship program for clean energy technicians. That again is through the REC. That was stood up by the U.S. Department of Labor. That's up and running, so you can actually get into apprenticeship programs directing you towards clean energy careers right now.
And I guess that really gives us the segue just to thinking about, is there anything that no one has asked that's joined us here today that you just really, really want to make sure that they know? And then unfortunately, we're not going to get to all of the questions that have been asked, but definitely if anyone has any additional questions, to make sure that they put them in the question box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I want to quickly mention what we talked about earlier, again, in terms of technologies and emerging fields. The circular economy, we can generate, we can transmit, we can distribute energy, but we can also save it as well. Okay, and that means energy efficiency, retrofits on homes. That means installing rooftop solar. That means installing community scale solar. But also it means saving some of the materials that we've used to construct our homes, saving some of the materials that we've used to construct our commercial and our industrial facilities as well. The more we save materials, the more we save energy and such. And that and we've developed a workforce around that called breaking barriers. We deliberately took folks from the west side of Atlanta, created a cohort, put them through a 4-week training program around deconstruction. We partnered them up with employees and such, and had a great graduation ceremony. But it was hard work. It was classroom training, it was field training and such. But we got 12 folks coming out who are ready for the workforce. And not only in deconstruction, but we taught them about sustainability and energy efficiency opportunities and renewable energy opportunities and being facility managers, etc. So again, and that was with a small EPA grant. So it doesn't take thousands of dollars, but what it does take is leadership and championship. What it does take is a coalition. Okay, and we've moved breaking barriers from a coalition of 8 now to a coalition of between 30 and 40 folks in Atlanta in an entity called Rebuild Atlanta as well. Okay, and at the same time, it takes vision as well, to move that, and perseverance, because this is hard work, particularly when you're trying to take folks off the bench or try to move them from a dysfunctional community into a working, functional employment relationship. Hard work, but it can be done.
Thank you.
It's just something to piggyback off of Gary. I will say that, I mean, we talk about all these different opportunities and outside of EV and clean energy and all the different opportunities in Georgia. And so it's definitely a question and something I think that we all should be focused on, and that's the workforce needs in the next 10, 20, 30 years. It's like, where is all this talent coming from? And so I think it's very, very important to develop these relationships because we have to develop and establish an environment that will cultivate that talent and generate interest in advanced manufacturing. And whether it's, in the energy space or infrastructure in different areas, manufacturers got to open the doors and make available so people can actually come in and see the opportunities that are available, because we're gonna need some workforce for we have the robotics, and robotics can only do so much, but we're gonna have to we need team members in the workforce to be able to program the robotics, to be able to repair and maintain. And so that's something that is going to be critical in working with the education system in helping develop curriculum and giving those opportunities to students in the classrooms, even before high school.
Right. Exactly.
Thank you, Leticia. And I just want to thank everybody for sharing about an hour with us. And remind everyone that the recording of our conversation will be in your inbox early next week. And we want you to share it with your friends and your colleagues and anyone who might be interested in the discussion that we had today. I also very much want to thank our panelists, Leticia Bailey and Gary Harris, for just dropping so much knowledge. And I learned a lot from the conversation, and I'm over here just furiously taking notes to keep track of what's been saying, but just because I learned so much as well. So just wishing everyone a very productive rest of your thrilling Thursday. And please join the next webinar once you see it advertised. Bye-bye.